Okay, so just wanted to go over the personal audit. This is a very simplified version. And what this is about is it's about basically minimizing chaos in your daily life, right? Or at least it's what I'm doing. And this derives from, some research that I've been doing on the subject and just observations of what I've seen in business and where I see things go wrong, and then basically where I see things go right. And so what this consists of is there's basically two tools that we're going to end up having. And what these are for is essentially to increase the overall order and organization in your life. The first one is time tracking and energy tracking bandwidth. And the key question to ask is, hey, are you using Google Calendar to color code and block your time so you can see where your energy goes and spot waste or burnout? And it's a simple decision tree. If the answer is yes, then just make sure that hey, review your color coding weekly or monthly to get feedback. And if you see a draining task repeatedly, plan to reduce or replace it, right? So this is the idea of rolling back or offloading things. Right. If you don't use the calendar, then the action, right, is like, hey, start color coding your daily and weekly events. So just drag a box over what you're doing, and then just give it three different colors. Red is like high stress, green is productive, and yellow is neutral, right? What that's going to let you do is schedule a short weekly review to identify any personal cancer, right? That's excessive scrolling or pointless meetings or anything else that's just consuming your time but not moving the needle, right? And then you just decide how to either eliminate or scale it down, right? Can you reduce the length of the meetings? Can you add a meeting agenda, right? Things like that, right? If you're doing excessive scrolling, right, on your documents, can you make it more compartmentalized, right? Simple things to make it useful for you, right? So that's calendar, and really that's king. I mean, that's the king. And this is for a personal thing, right? If you look at mine, I haven't action planned this week yet, but basically, if we go back here, you can see that there's just a lot of there's several different color codings. Anything that's green is paid, right? And anything that's light green is future. I'm hoping will bring money in the future. And then, yellow is personal time. And then zero, anything that's like this beige color is just admin, right? Things that I got to do. Sleep is blue. And that's it, right? So it's a real simple way to look at my calendar and see how much time am I spending towards money making activities, how much time am I getting for free time, and I can say, hey, I spent a lot of personal time here, but this orange thing was a critical task, right? And I got that done on the weekend, right? So that's kind of where we're at. That's how you can manage your process, right? And so that's the personal calendar. It's a ledger of where you put your attention throughout time. Next, we get into Google Docs. So the question then is like, well, what do you commit to put in the calendar, right? What are the things you should do? And how do you track those? How do you manage decision fatigue? How do you manage when you, like, if you're going to undergo a major commitment, what's a system that would let you do that in a way that ensures that if it starts to go wrong, you can roll back to something that was working, right? And that's the biggest idea here, right? Is for any major decision, right? Just have one single Google Doc, and all you do is just use the history as as your version control. So let's say this idea is not working. You go back here, you can restore that version. That's going to be the thing you use, right? So that's the idea. Something super simple. You can bookmark it, or put it in I put it in an evidence tracker. It's one place that I go to for anything that I've done that I built, right? And so I know right where to get it. So The key question that can help you determine if this is useful for you is, do you keep a single Google Doc with version history or for major commitments, logging why you chose them and noting a potential undo or pilot plan, right? If yes, just, update it regularly, especially when your assumptions change and revert or roll back if a decision fails or becomes too costly. So if you don't have one of these, then the question is do you have something like it? Well, if you have something like it, don't worry about it. Just keep using it. Is it working for you, right? If yes, then just keep going. If not, then well, what's what's what about it makes it unwieldy for you? And then go from there, right? If you don't have one of these things at all, then a single Google Doc, it's first of all, it's shareable. So if you want to get feedback, it makes it easy. If you want to extend this to make it more of a company thing, you can do that, right? All these little audits are in here. They're the bigger the company, as you go down, it gets bigger and bigger. This is a personal audit that's more comprehensive. This is the simplified one. You got a small company of 6 people, and then you got something that is really for bigger companies, right? So you can pick your level. So if you don't have one of these and you haven't tried it, then the next one would be just create one Google Doc, right? Bookmark it and name it decision log. For each big decision, like if you're going to do a big new purchase, buy a car, career move, or anything like that, or taking on and doing some kind of partnership, anything big, right? Getting married, right? Of course, that maybe not. I don't want to recommend it for marriage. I mean, maybe you do it for marriage. That's kind of a risky thing to say. But, like a major career move, anything strategic, right? Add a short reason why you're doing it, right? What's the rationale? What initial assumptions went into your rationale, right? What are the things that you're assuming for this to be a good decision? And then how do you test it, right? What's your exit plan? What if it doesn't go right? How can you dip your toe in the water as opposed to just jumping in both feet, right? Off of a cliff that you can't climb if it goes wrong, right? How do you pilot this thing in a way to see and make sure that it works, especially if it's a big decision, means that if it goes wrong, either it just takes a lot of time and effort to make it a thing or if you get it wrong, it's a huge cost, right? Um, how can you roll it out in a way that you can just push a button and like go back to something that was working if this one fails, right? And then just use the Google Docs version history if needed to remove or go back. So that literally would be, let's say you have this current version, you've edited the document. Well, this wasn't working, but the thing a couple of weeks ago was working. You just click this and go back and you find that thing a couple of weeks ago and you restore the version, right? Super easy. And then that way, it's anybody that has the proper sharing can see the history, right? Um, you can control, whether or not a person can change it or if they just comment on it. So it's free. If you got a Google, account, you can use this. So it's just real simple and it makes it a bit easier to manage something, and it literally is just 2 platforms that you probably already have access to. They're both free. It's a Google Calendar, and within your Google account is a Google document, right? Now, how do you get to Google Documents if you don't know, or if you're not familiar with, or maybe you are, but you're like, how do I get that? There's different ways. The easiest way is go to Calendar, left click on this little 9 dots up here, and then Google Docs is somewhere in here. You just left click on Google Docs to create a new one. And that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. We'll go from there.